Okay, there we are. So today, uh, this is a continuing series, information about the Almighty, from personal experience and from experiences I've had. Um, and just, generally talking about that whole business, the Almighty. And today I want to talk to you about the logical fallacy of atheism. And, there's a couple of things. If you don't have any common sense, or you've thought that common sense is somehow beneath you, why then you better just skip this whole thing, because you got to have some common sense, just ordinary common sense, and that is, of course, what people, you know, um, normally see and understand when they have a human body and the human feelings and things like that. So, what is the logical fallacy of atheism? Well, first of all, if we want to understand something, we must go back to the fundamental situation. We can't think about, now there's a universe and all these things, and where did it all come from? We have to go back to the very beginning. The beginning in time, before we can go there, we don't have to go there, but we can go in time. Before there was a universe, because our minds are limited, so we don't think. That's how we think. Everything takes place. There was something, but before that, before there was something, what was there? So what was there in the very beginning? Let's say just before the universe was created. Okay. Now, if you're going to listen to this and try to go along with me, one thing that's important to do is to distinguish between what is your imagination and what is logic. What is reason and logic? In reason and logic, you're going to say there is a first thing. One thing comes from another. It has to follow. If it doesn't follow, if it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't add up, well, then it's not logical and it doesn't obtain, as we say. It doesn't make it. So it's thrown out. Imagination, you can imagine anything. You can imagine, I don't know, something just appeared. But that's imagination. You're imagining things. You can imagine anything. You can imagine that there's a God. You can imagine that there's not a God. And you can just go on, and you can, having imagined something, then you can try to apply reason to that, and and using your imagination and your reason, you can come up with all kinds of things. Like, well, the one thing kind of wanted to be like something else, and so it kind of over time it changed and it did this. Okay, but let's skip all that. Let's go right back to the fundamental situation. Okay, logically, the fundamental situation is that before everything else that we are talking about in the material world, the physical universe, there was either something or there was nothing. Okay? Now we can be more clear about that, and we can say that nothing, logically, in a state of nothing, zero, means zero. It means there is nothing. And we can even go so far as to say that there is not even space and there is not even time. So let's go back there, before there was even space or time. And we can't conceive of it, very well in our minds. We can't, but we can conceptualize it. Logically, we can talk about it. So, if there was nothing, then we can say that if there is nothing, from nothing comes nothing. Zero equals zero. Nothing can come out of nothing, because there's nothing there. Period. Okay? There's nothing. That's it. Or there was something. And that's where it gets interesting. Something. What was it? Well, you know, scientists, they like to go there and they like to say, well, it's little teeny, tiny, tiny. Oh, it's so tiny. It was so tiny. You can hardly believe how tiny it was. We can't even see it. And it was so tiny. But there it was. And then out of that, everything else came. Bop. Okay, but there's a problem there. Logically, there's a problem because using common sense and logic, we know that nothing begets nothing, and so something has to come from somewhere. That's logic. It has to be made. It has to be created. Okay? All right. So you can go on and on about this kind of thing. And scientists like to say, well, there's an accident. Two things came together, and there was some sort of accident. The lightning struck, or some odd thing. We don't know what it was. And they can go, we don't know what it is, but it's got to be there. And they can fudge and carry on and disseminate, about so many things, but they're avoiding the main point. And the main point is that for something to exist, okay, in the material world, it has to be made. It has to be made by something. Okay. Now, if you want to talk about something being made, there has to be a maker. A thing which does not make things cannot make things. So, because our mind is limited and logical, what you end up with is a finite loop. And that loop is, well, something made this, and then, well, what made that something that made that? Well, something made that. And so it just goes on and on and on. It gets you nowhere. There's no answer in that case. There's always a prior something that made something else, or caused something else to become into being. But, causality itself, it implies laws, it implies some structure to reality, it implies a force. What made the force? If there's one thing, just one thing, and it doesn't move, well, nothing's going to happen, is it? But if there's a thing, two things, and they move, see, well then you already have two things and something that moves them. So you already have three things that were created by something else. So I suppose if you were a hippie, you could say, well, God is something else, Alright. So the term God or Allah or Yahweh refers to aspects, because the one that we're discussing that made all these things is something that, first of all, since it can't be named, and I won't talk about that. But there's no way to name it. You're talking about. In a way, you're talking about, from our point of view, nothing. I mean, where did nothing come from? Alright, so something has to create something. Okay. And that is the logical fallacy of atheism, because without anything, there can't be anything. So there has to be a first cause. There has to be a first, in our terms, living, creating, being. Something has to create things. Okay? You take an empty field and you put a fence around it, and you come back 100 years later, it's still going to be an empty field, with nothing in it, nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be a bunch of accidents and the lightning strikes and suddenly there's a big house there or a fantastically complicated universe is suddenly existing. That doesn't happen. So, fundamentally, what we have here is a situation where you're using a tool, which scientists use. First of all, the scientists say, well, we're not spiritual people. We don't deal with spiritual things. We deal with material things. Okay, fine. You go ahead and you do that. And to do that, you use your mind. And the mind is actually pretty well suited to examine and think about, objects and processes and things like that. So it's suited for the material world, but it's not suited for anything beyond the material world. In other words, okay, maybe it is, but it's not suited for anything that is limitless, infinite, because the mind is limited. You say, no, the mind isn't limited, you're just making that up. Well, okay, so, but you can look at your own mind, you can see the truth of it. Because if you say, well, the universe is infinite, and then your mind is going to kind of conceptualize things, and say, well, yeah, but what's beyond that? Because it thinks it's limited. That's how it is. It comes up with a concept it calls infinity. That's a limited concept. Infinity can only be understood, something infinite is the only thing that can understand something that's infinite. And that tool for understanding infinite things exists in your inner feeling. In other words, a feeling that is not material and is beyond this world. And if you use that feeling, which you don't, or you discount it, you call it all kinds of things, it's my intuition, I had a hunch, I had a feeling, and some of which, feelings aren't true, or maybe true, but there is a basic one that is always true. You don't have to believe that, but, for instance, but it's very easy to use, and I'll give you an idea of it. It's like you could say, well, is there a God? And the mind is going to go, well, I don't know, I don't see any evidence that there is. I mean, this could have easily evolved. They use a little magical word, evolved. There's no proof of evolution. There's no instance, anything evolving. There's plenty of instances of things adapting and changing to deal with their environment, because that's something that is created into everything. Fortunately, it's very fortunate for us, isn't it? Who could live in this messy world we're having right now if you couldn't adapt? I mean, it's all upside down, and bad, stupid people run the earth, and all they think about is money, and good people are put in prison, or trapped. We're all trapped. You can't do this, you can't do that. You're not free, and and everything you do is our business. Whose business? The stupid material people. It's their business. What did you do on the 5th year? Where did you work then? I mean, anyway, I'm getting off track. Okay, so let's go back to using the inner feelings. Which if they're not purified, they're not cleaned up, then when you ask these questions, I'll give you an example. So you ask, where is there God? And you see, you go to your inner feeling, which is located pretty much around in the lower right part, or of your system, of your body system. It's a feeling, and you let that feeling out. You say, well, it says things which to you are nonsense. They're not nonsense, but it sounds like nonsense. But if it's purified out and cleaned up, and you're going to ask the question, is there a God? And you wait for the answer. Yeah, of course there's a God. What do you think made everything? Oh, yeah. But we have an explanation for how everything was made. No, you don't. You can look at a single cell, or you can look at the quantum physics, and you can see all kinds of things, but then you have no clue of how they could even do that. Look at all those. It's like a world that lives in a cell. It makes things. It does things. It's a little tiny cell. You can't even see it. You know, or the exquisite DNA. You know, so incredible, unbelievably complicated. Everything has to work perfectly on time, and it does every time. You know, I mean, you know, and if it doesn't, there's so many trillions of them that if one goes, you know, a few of them go bad. But I mean, you know, we're speaking normally, generally. But they continue to do things and work. It implies intelligence. Intelligent creation. You can make something. If you're intelligent, you can make something that does all kinds of things. If you're not intelligent, maybe not. Maybe not, huh? Okay, so the scientists who have, first of all, bifurcated and said we're not spiritual people. So, but they've lost track of who they are, so they're examining the material world. Say, go ahead, examine it. Tell us all about it if you want. You know, although why anybody would be interested in it, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of interesting. It's a great place for a human being to be. The sun comes up, everything is nice, the weather works, you can breathe, you can be, I mean you are, you exist, and everything that you need is here for you. Why do you need to question where did it come from? How does it work? Well, you got nothing better to do, you know? You know, sometimes you need to know a little bit about something, how it works. But, you know, people have been, well, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, you know, I'm not going to argue against knowing things. But, you know, there are proportions, and you don't need to know a lot. Somebody gives you a bath. It's like a person, you're going to take a shower, and you wait and wait, and they don't turn the water on. Why? Because they're examining the bathtub. How is this thing made? What makes it work? See? Just take the bath, okay? Take your shower, clean yourself up. That's what you need. Get out of there. You know, that's the craftsman who, you know, made it their, you know, it's their thing to make bathtubs. Let them know about all this. You don't need to know about it. And what will it gain you? As Christ said, you know, what will your thought gain you? So what will it gain you? Nothing. Not much. Nothing really. Now, I'm going to just say one last thing. And that is that all this talk I'm doing about God, it's not going to, the notion or the direction of things is it's not going to work. Because the situation, as far as I know today, is that man has been so bombarded by information and thoughts, things, and figuring out things just like I'm doing now, that it's very hard for him to believe anything for sure. And he mostly doesn't. So the only way that he could, or you could, actually know that there is a God. I mean, if you put your hand over the fire and you leave it there, you know, up a foot or so, you leave it there for a few seconds, well, there's a pretty good chance you're going to wish you didn't, because your fingers is so hot. And it's, oh, you're not going to do it again. Or if you do it, you're going to do it very carefully and way up here. You're not going to put your hand right there and wait. Because you know that fire is hot. To know that there is a God, or a being, or there is something else, if you want to call it that, real, that's real. You have to experience it. Now, the Almighty, of course, knows all these things, so He gave mankind a gift, a direct gift, a direct contact with the power of God. But the trouble is, you are so benighted, and you are so filled with all kinds of forces that aren't even human. Oh, I don't want any part of that. Gosh, how could you even say that? You know, and all kinds of little forces in you that play around and affect how you think about things. Doubts, misgivings, uncertainty. Whoa, the world is rampant with uncertainty these days. How do we know this is you? Sure, it's a picture of you and it looks like you, but how do we know for sure that it's you? Huh? How do we know? So they have the DNA test. And they have to go some time. Yeah, I can't. You know, uncertainty is big. It's the only way that you can actually accept. This is what I've heard. And I think in general, I've been here 76 years. I think it's pretty true. You have to have proof. Proof. Okay, so the Almighty has given you a gift, sent a guy to explain it, a more advanced sort of soul being, to explain it, how it works, so that you can have a direct contact and not in a very long period of time, you can have your own proof, your own experience that will, prove to you. You say, well, no, don't tell me. I was there. I saw it. I felt it. Don't tell me it's not real. I know it's real. I experienced that. Huh? Have you ever had, well, I won't go there. Let's just say, I suppose you eat a really good tomato. Sometimes tomatoes, homegrown tomatoes, I don't know, when you get older, they can, with a little sea salt on, they can be so good, you're going, oh my God, that thing is fantastic. You eat one of those tomatoes and somebody tries to tell you it does exist, fuck you. I mean, you're going to disagree. You're going to say, no, don't tell me this. I ate it. I felt it. It does exist. It is great. It's wonderful. Tomato. It's just amazing. The trouble is, or the thing is, for some reason, the Almighty knows why. If you don't seem to be interested in getting proof, it's like, don't confuse me with facts. I know. It's almost as if you would say, well, yeah, I know that you could prove to me that God, that I could get this gift and prove to me that God exists, but I'd rather think that I don't want to. I'm afraid, or I don't want to. I don't want to, because then I have to change everything about the way I think. It's like climate change. You go, well, if you want to keep existing, you're going to have to change how you live. Oh, I don't want to. Well, fine, then you're going to die. Oh, I don't want to do that either. So man he's got a predicament. And most likely you're going to come up against the same thing. If you want to continue to exist, you want to have a happy life, after you leave here as a being, well, you're going to have to kind of change the way you approach things. Now, the gift, what is the gift? Well, the gift was brought by somebody who came to the West in the late 50s. And it's an instance where it's passed on. And the reason it's passed on, you may say, well, why can't you just get it? Why can't I just sit here and get it? Maybe you could, but the thing is, it's passed on because people, when they get zapped, as we say, or they have an experience with the Almighty, they very often have funny thoughts. They think there's something special. They start preaching to everybody else. They don't know anything more than they did before they got zapped, except as they got zapped. They don't know anything. And generally, so they cause mischief. This gift is passed on. I digress. But anyway, the gift is passed on in a way that you get it from other people who've had experience with it. It passes via, it's like a conduit. It passes. They don't pass it on to you. Because what the gift is, how it works, the fundamental thing of the gift is that you simply do nothing. You close your eyes and you wait, and you wait until you are moved, and then you trust. You trust that movement. You don't reject the movement. You wait. You allow yourself to be moved. Okay. And if you're moved, then you follow that movement and you see where does it lead you. So man is very confused right now. He doesn't know what to do. And the trouble is, he's using his mind, he's using his thoughts and his ideas to try to figure out what to do. But, those are some of the things that are confusing him. So the only one that can get him out of this, at this point, is the Almighty. So the Almighty can calm him down and have him experience things. I want to show you something, Johnny. Here, see how this works? Now touch that right here. Oh, look what it does. Oh, that's interesting. Now Johnny gets involved. Mankind gets involved because they're experiencing. Oh, I'm feeling something. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling that. So, just to finish up, let's just say, I'll just say one thing. There's lots of people who have received this gift, maybe 1 million or so. It's not a lot in terms of how many people are on the earth, but a lot of people. And they've received their proofs that God exists. It's different for each person. A proof for one person won't be a proof for another one, but the real experience, you ride a horse, that's a proof. It's a proof. You understand something about horses and how horses are and the reality of horses by riding the horse. You understand something about the Almighty by having experience with the Almighty. So, using our common sense, we could say, and with good reason, perhaps that's an unfortunate use of the term, or unfortunate term to use, that people who've had spiritual experiences and who have, like, Betty 80 or, different the messengers of God and so on, people who've had those experiences and have experienced the Almighty, these are the people that you should listen to about spiritual things, not people who say, oh, it's spiritual. No, it doesn't exist. For us, maybe it exists. It's none of our business. We're looking at how does the mouse work? How does the acorn? How is it formed? What? Okay. So you would have to say if you get clear with yourself. If you want to find out something about the spiritual world. Go to find out, try to figure out, use your intelligence, try to figure out among the spiritual people, you go and that's what people used to do. They go and visit these different people who said they were spiritual. They see, well, did it make any sense to me? Or did I feel anything? Or did I have any experience? And if they did, well, then they might follow that person. The person had something they didn't have and try to understand or come to. And the secret of it is, the truth of it is that God is the one who teaches you, not anybody else. And because everybody's nature is slightly different, people are in different conditions, they need different things. So, in the end, you can follow Christ, or you can follow Muhammad, or you can follow Moses, or Abraham, or things like that, things that are written by these people, but in the end it's better because your nature is just a little bit, the variety is endless, it seems, of creations. You have your own nature, and so the thing that works for you, and is exactly appropriate and suited for you and not anybody else, and that's what the gift is all about. people receive the gift, there's no teaching, there's no learning. It's an experience that they have over and over and over again. Generally, you do it a couple times a week for half an hour. You just stop doing anything, just relax and wait. You usually do this with other people later on, or you don't have to, but when people do things together, it kind of reinforces things, kind of helps in some way. Just like, if we build a house, well, yeah, I can build a house, but, if I get a bunch of people together, it's a happier experience. Some people, why? Because some people can do this, some people can do that. In terms of the gifts, there are people who receive a lot of things and are very active, and there are others who kind of a little bit covered over, maybe a lot covered over, and it takes a long time for them to even have a single movement. So it's all pretty simple and pretty straightforward. It's a great gift. I mean, it's what we need. It's what mankind is looking for. It purifies. And God works on you. You let God work on you a couple times a week. You stay out of it. Just as you would stay out of, if you had a good mechanic, you let him fix the car. You might ask him a couple questions. That might be okay, but you don't interfere. You don't try to tell him what to do. You let him work. And with man, the intricacies and the subtleties that exist in a human being are, such that the Almighty has no problem with it and knows just what to do with you. But you don't. You might think you need to sleep, but actually you need to stay awake. You might think you need to eat, but actually you need to fast. You might think it'd be a good idea to mention something to somebody at a certain point, but actually it isn't. Lots of things. The Almighty is the one that teaches you. But for some reason, as I say, I'm sure it's a good reason, I don't know what it is, nobody's interested. Cake? I don't want any cake. Something to make my life better and easier? No thanks. I'd rather do it on my own. So you could say, as Christ said, the self of these people then possesses them and takes over, just like in the Western world, one can say with some cause that the mind of man has taken over him. The mind decrees. No, we don't see it that way. What we understand here, the mind takes over the guy or the woman. Not so much women. Women tend to go in different directions. Anyhow, out of nothing can come. So in order for there to be something, it has to be created. It has to be created by something that can create. And, typically, this is a being, we can say. We can use that word. A being created it. Bob made the table. No, it was made by another machine. No, Bob made it. Someone, a being, the Almighty in this case, made it all. But it's no use, that's a logical thing I'm talking about. But in order to contemplate that and go there, really the best way to do it, and you need to do it, is to have actual proof that there is a God. And that proof is here for you to have. It's here for you to have. You can have it. I could pass the gift on to you. I don't know whether you're shy or something, or you think it's all, you're just so jaded that you think, no, there can't be anything. You've given up. You don't look for a job anymore if you live in America. It's too hard. But the nice thing about this gift is not hard. Any common, ordinary person, you don't have to be bright, you don't have to be gifted, you don't have to be special Just an ordinary human being can do this and have, you persist and you are full-hearted about it. But you don't have to. I'm not going to give a bunch of conditions. Any ordinary human person, I know because I'm one of those people. I'm just an ordinary person. Can have this gift and have a great result. The Almighty will restore you to being a functioning, actual noble human being. A person, in other words, who loves mankind, has feelings to help other people, and satisfies his requirements and duties to his Creator, which include, times when you need to be surrendered, times when you need to be submitted, times when you need to obey, times when you need to be paying attention or follow God's direction, which comes up within you. It's not something that you think that you know what it is. It's something that happens within you. And it's never harmful. It's never, weird. It may be unfathomable to you, or it may be like, why am I doing this? But it's never, in my experience, and the experience of, I can't think of anybody who's had a strange experience. It really works. It's good. It's like go to a good restaurant. Food's good there. You go, wow! I'm so glad we found this place. This is great. This peach cobbler is the best. That steak tastes so good. It works. The gift works. But it's for you to experience it, not to be told by me. I'm telling you, yeah, it does work. It's great. It doesn't require going to church and believing a bunch of things. It requires you being open to having an experience. It doesn't cost any money. It doesn't require you to do any weird thing or risk anything. There's no risk involved. It's about standing up, a bunch of other guys, or a woman, if you're a woman, a bunch of other women. And they don't get anywhere near you. They ask you, they bear witness that you want to receive this gift. There has to be some kind of sincerity involved. It can't just be some intellectual. Yeah, I'll try it. Okay, what is it? There should be some kind of sincerity. Maybe there is a God. I'm open to that possibility. So let's see what this is. That's sincerity. Then you just do whatever God makes you to do. He doesn't make you do anything, then you don't do anything. You just stand there for half an hour twice a week. Almost everybody does. They find themselves within a few times, at least, of sometimes right off the bat, of having inner movements. And outwardly they don't look like anything, but they're actually doing real things to you. That's the deal. That's what's going on today, and man really needs this gift, because it would, for one thing, over a period of a few years, it would get his bad character, which is very much in play these days, back where it's supposed to be, and his good character would flourish. And that's a big problem that mankind has, is you have all these people and their bad character keeps coming in. They say they have something, but they're actually doing something else, and a lot of it has to do with getting power, getting money or something. They try to hide that from other people. It always comes out. Bad character. They have a bad character. They do not have a good character. So mankind is suffering from a dearth, lack of people who have good character, stand up, take responsibility, act act in the right way, which comes from within, not because they know this is because it's there, it's happening. It's a living God operates, and operates over. It's you know, quite freeing, quite open. It's not oppressive. It's the mind actually says, no, I'm a spirit. God told me to do. I go do this. Now then you become a robot. That's the mind's idea of God. But God is much more. It's like you're more alive. You're more awake. If you're lucky, your true self comes up. It's a much better consciousness. Okay, that's enough. All right, okay. There you have it. All right, bye-bye.